Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight.
I want to switch gears here. I was talking about Drew Lock, and I mentioned, obviously, with George Cheruri about that great fourth quarter that he had. And one of the things that popped up, and ESPN did an article on this, talking about how he had the best timed quarter of any quarterback this season. So you have the MVP vote, the midseason MVP, the emerging rookie of the year, all that stuff. Well, Drew Lock made this list, and you didn't know how he would make this list, but he'd made it as best timed quarter, and again, great timing, 14 of 18 for 155 yards and 3 touchdown passes. But the thing that came up in this article is that he had almost 3 seconds to throw in the second half. Mm-hmm. That was significant.
It was.
And so I asked George about that a little earlier on. Was that more of the Broncos offense giving him more time, the offensive line giving him more time, or was that a little bit of a factor of the Chargers defense? It sounded like George kind of framed it a little bit more as the Chargers defense was kind of getting gassed, especially as the game wore on and the time of possession started to slant a little bit towards the Broncos. What did you think?
I agree with that. I also think that Joey Bosa got an injury, and that affected a lot of that too. Joey Bosa is a one-man wrecking crew, makes everybody around him better. He's a great defensive end. Just because he plays for another team doesn't mean we can't acknowledge that. So I think it's a combination of those things. I think Drew, the light kind of came on after Jerry Jeudy kind of lit into him a little bit in that third quarter. I think that the light kind of came on for Drew, and I think going up tempo helped. And I've said that a lot. We've said that all year here. I think you need to go up tempo with Drew a little bit. I think you need to take the thinking out of him and let him act on instinct. And we've been proponents of that on this show for quite some time. And it works. Drew Lock's quarterback rating when they go up tempo is 40 points higher than when he doesn't. 40 points. That's not an aberration. He's just better when you do that. And so for me, I think there's a way you can do that without gassing your own defense. I think Pat Shurmur's a little reticent to do that because of his time as an OC under Chip Kelly. Mm-hmm. But I still think there's a way you can do it without gassing your own defense. I think what you do is you go up tempo, but you get to the line quick. That gives Shurmur a chance to survey the defense too, get his earpiece. Do the Sean McVay way, where you hurry up to the line, and then you okay, we're up here now. We're gonna do a little surveying, all that kind of stuff. You're gonna force defenses to tip their hand early.
The NFL average is 2.73 seconds before
time to throw.
Right. Is there anything the Broncos can do to help give him more time? By the way, the Chargers only blitzed one time in that entire fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. They really were on their heels the entirety of that quarter. I don't know if it's hurry up. I don't know if it's going more 12 personnel, if it's leaving a back in there.
They're a cover 3 defense, Chargers, so they don't blitz much. And honestly, that's what they're going to be up against this week too. The Falcons are a cover 3 defense that doesn't blitz much either. So now there's a little more speed at the linebacking core in that, but they're a little lighter too. You can run on them with power. So I think that's a part of it. I don't think it was necessarily that. I think it's just the design of the defense. We're a cover 4. We don't blitz that much. Now, Vic has dialed it up over the last couple of weeks, but prior to that, we all know Vic Fangio, not a big fan of the blitzing.
Is there anything the Broncos can do to learn from that? Say, hey, we almost gave 3 seconds time to throw for Drew Lock.
2 tight end sets.
Is there some? Yeah.
Check and release. Okay. If you're running gun in a back, you let the back check and release instead of hitting the swings. And I'd love to see some more maybe using the running back to check off the tackle. Let the tackle seal the inside. Let the back pin to the outside there, and then the back can just run 3 steps and turn and be the dump instead of trying to run that swing stuff. It takes too long to develop. Give him a check and a quicker release. And I think that'd be beneficial. If you're really going to do something like that, you can check. You don't have to just turn away from the ball. Then you can run to the nearest sideline. You can turn and then pivot. And there are all kinds of things you can add to that to help out. But I think quicker developing checkdowns, I know that sounds stupid, but...
No, I'm 100% with you. I think that's something that they don't utilize nearly enough.
Right.
I expected it in the Pat Shurmur offense, to be honest.
And I really like them to do that to Dotson's side because Dotson had trouble with the pass rusher getting inside of him in that game. There were a couple plays, and Bosa's a monster, but he still did it. And so I'd like to see Dotson lean into his inside, let that back come to the outside and create a combo block there, and then the back can kind of check and release, and understand that he's bought the quarterback enough time to set. Now I'm open in the flat if you need me, but I should have given you enough time to get the ball down the field.
You noticed in that game that Drew was kind of hitting the underneath stuff a lot, as if it was the dramatic shift from what was the previous week against Kansas City, where he was almost ignoring everything underneath and trying to score. No, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with this. Is so you saw the coaching juxtaposition from what happened in Kansas City to the game against the Chargers. he changed up something in the second half or even into the fourth quarter. What did you see that was different?
Well, you saw a quarterback who's a little unsure of himself early in the game. He's been pressing the last couple of weeks, and he went out there and was throwing all those YOLO balls, deep balls. By the way, Drew Lock, top 3 deep ball thrower by percentage, meaning more of his attempts go to deep balls than he's top 3 in the NFL, and most percentage of throws going deep, 20-plus yards. And so the coaches were screaming at him that Fant was open underneath. Well, then he got hyper-conservative. And he started keying in on the underneath stuff. And that's a hallmark of a guy that's pressing. He's just taking everything the coach says, and I'm just doing that instead of doing everything else I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think what you saw was a guy that let the speed of the game slow down a little bit. By the time that fourth quarter got in there, he was back to being calm, and he started to, as you're pulling oxygen, as you're getting tired with your breath, you start to go back to muscle memory a little bit. And even when you're tight and you're nervous, it kind of evens out a little bit. This is where you see guys get called gamers sometimes. They come alive in the fourth quarter. They get out of their own head. You're just an athlete acting on instinct, and it makes you better players sometimes. Well, we've seen that effect to a degree with Tim Tebow.
Can he build on that, though? Because it's not like every game is going to be where it almost felt like he played a little more free because maybe the expectations were we're already 21 points down. What else am I going to do here?
Yeah, see, I don't know. I think that causes people to press. I mean, it would cause me to press,
Well, no, he took it the opposite way.
Right. So whatever it was, I think the Phil Lindsay run kind of sparked people, and they got a little bit, and they're like, all right, you know what? We can just let's have some fun, put some points on the board. And once Drew Lock gets back there to having fun, it's infectious. It is, and it's contagious. You can see it on the field. When he's having fun, everybody else is having fun. But when he gets in his own head, everybody's stiff, and you see it. And so I think it was noticeable. I think Phil getting out there, Phil's a spark plug man. He gets out there, he gets fired up after that big run. Everybody gets in behind that, and you're like, we're not that far out of this. We let's put a couple more points on the board. We might make a thing out of this.
Denver Broncos are facing the Atlanta Falcons this weekend. Where are the best matchups to exploit? We'll get to it next.